Ontario is hoping to encourage more home building by relieving developers of some of the fees they pay to municipalities. Now, those cities are warning that lost revenue will have to be made up. That could mean property taxes on existing homes go up. So an unintended consequence of trying to make new homes more affordable is it makes existing ones more expensive. Bonnie Crombie is the mayor of Mississauga. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Amanda.
So let's just start with this. I mean, this was intended by the province of Ontario to help speed the building of new homes, relieve developers of some fees. Where does it leave the cities who are now losing revenue they used for things like infrastructure to support the new homes?
Well, let me first say thank you to the Premier, because we do have the same goal, and that is to build more housing. We're on side, all the municipalities across Ontario are on side. We all agree that we want to increase the supply of affordable housing. Unfortunately, this provides the development community an incentive that may or may not get passed on to the home buyer. There are no provisions in the legislation that guarantees that those savings will get passed on, because at the end of the day, we know the market determines the price, not the ultimate cost. So as you suggest, I think changes need to be made because the cities need to be compensated for those lost revenues. These are revenues that we rely on to build our cities and our city infrastructure.
We saw recently with the City of Toronto, property taxes are likely to go up. There's some inflationary pressure in that for all budgets. How do you weigh that against the pain that citizens or homeowners are already feeling because of all the inflationary pressure elsewhere in their lives?
Well, it's a great question. And in fact, all of us are going through our budget cycles right now. We begin our budget deliberations on Monday. The region of Peel is looking at a 3.1% increase. The city of Mississauga is looking at a 3% increase. And of course, we're going to do what we can to bring those down. But in the same vein as the city of Toronto, those are large increases, largely as a result of inflationary pressures and lagging effect of COVID. The fact that our ridership on public transit has not gone back up to 100%. So there are a lot of pressures on cities, much as our taxpayers, homeowners are facing in their own homes with the rising cost of fuel and diesel, and of course the price of food and clothing and everything else. There are just inflationary pressures all around us. So it's not a great economic environment to begin with, and the prospect of another increase coming on the heels of legislation at the province is problematic. So we're very hopeful that the province will come in and perform those audits that they talked about and look at our books and look at our reserves and come up with a method that will compensate cities for those lost revenues.
Not a ton of time here, and it's a big subject, Mayor, but are you confident that the efforts being undertaken will actually help create more supply, take the pressure off home prices?
Well, at the end of the day, it's up to the development community. I know that the Premier has given us all targets on home building, but those factors really aren't in our control. It largely are market-driven. It largely depends on the economy, whether they're facing labor shortages or supply chain issues, or whether they can get their financing in place. So we all want to build homes, but we know that there's a little bit of a slowdown right now, in fact, in building of homes. There are a number of permits. In fact, there are over 20,000 permits in Mississauga that haven't been pulled because the economic conditions are not right. So this is another concern. But we welcome the new legislation. We do want to build more homes, and we're just very hopeful that the cities will be compensated for those lost DC revenues.
Mayor, we appreciate your time. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Amanda.
Bonnie Crombie is the mayor of Mississauga. Time for the takeaway and how looks can be deceiving. Lululemon is best known for its athletic pants, specifically those stretchy garments that made their way from the gym to the street, for better or worse, and helped make Lululemon a huge success. This week, shareholders of the company's stock could have used a little tummy control. It swooned Monday on news that the company took a hit to its profit over the all-important holiday shopping season. We'll leave the question of whether that price dive makes sense to others, and instead note that it's actually very good news overall. Lululemon didn't say people weren't buying its products. Quite the opposite. Sales at the company were stronger than anyone expected. What did happen was that it had built up excess inventory, and in order to clear its shelves a little, it dropped prices. Not only is that good for consumers, but it is exactly what central banks are hoping will happen. When a market is said to be tight, it means that businesses don't feel a lot of pressure to lower prices. They aren't worried about losing customers. But when shoppers get penny conscious, a smart retailer makes sure they spend any pennies they part with them. It's a very bad scenario if a retailer has to drop prices so low it's no longer profitable. But that's far from the case with Lululemon. While its profit per sale dipped in the most recent quarter, it's still a decent rate. That's important because it's a win-win transaction. The company still makes money and the consumer gets a deal. And perhaps the most important reason Lululemon's so-called bad news is actually an excellent story, it is exactly the kind of move that lowers inflation. And again, it is what central banks and economists are hoping to see. Other businesses will also see declines in their rates of profit. And while stock markets may react badly to that, nobody else should. My takeaway? Many businesses had extremely high rates of profit in these inflationary times, whether it's through lower prices or higher wages for employees. They can afford to make a little less and still do pretty well. And that can be a trade-off that's good for the whole economy. That's Taking Stock for this week. I'm Amanda Lang. Thanks for being with us.